the architect of the Pearl Harbor attack. General MacArthur said, you know, all these, see, because that was the early start of the war, his comment was, we have had nothing but bad news, but this is the news that will help us. In other words, it gave the U.S. Armed Forces a huge lift. It's that kind of thing that there are other examples that I can present, but this is just one. As to the value of knowing the language. Senator Inouye, interesting you say that. Senator Inouye was in company team, 447 Regimental Combat Team, and as you know, he lost his right arm. And he stood in the Senate one day and said, I am an African American. Everybody looked at him, dismayed. So he said, and then he described how he lost his arm and how he needed blood transfusion. And the 442nd, in the last campaign, the Po Valley campaign, was attached to the 92nd Buffalo Division. So where did the blood come from? Thank you very much.
This is not a question, but as a member of the Marshall Library and Archives, I hope you will consider allowing us to place your talk this evening, your remarks, in our research files. We have a permanent research file that is available to researchers who come from all over the world. And I think they would really enjoy your information. So you will please consider that.
I'm sorry, you say you want to switch?
Yes, for our Marshall file in the library.
If you give me your email address, I'll email you.
Thank you. Thank
I
you.
need to edit it. I need to think on all of it.
Yes, we would enjoy having it.
No, I'm a historian, and I will.
Well, Mr. Shima, we have, it has been an absolute privilege to have you here tonight. Really, I just thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. And I would like for you to have a small token of George Marshall, paperweight that bears the stamp with his image on it. And I do know that George Marshall would be very, very proud of your service to our country. So I'd like to present that to you. We have a little ways to wait for the bus, 10 minutes or so. And so if you would like to ask Mr. Shima questions, then please feel free while we wait for our chariot. Oh, this is slower. Yes, we don't know where to go.
No, I mentioned that, you know, we had our men in Burma with the Marrows Marauders. There were 12 Vietnamese members attached to the brigade-size combat unit in Burma. And their job was to march 700 miles to get to their target. And the War Department told men before they wanted all volunteers. And told the volunteers, 85% of you will not return. That was the casualty estimate. And they were exactly right. Because at the end of that operation, only about 12 or 15% of the men were standing. But in one operation, Japanese-American linguist probably saved his battalion from being annihilated. Already by that point, it was sort of 3/4 of the way that they had gone, and so they were low on rations, low on ammo, and low on equipment. And so so they bivouacked that night, and our Japanese American decided he was going to need information. So he crawled to the enemy bivouac and overheard the conversation that they were having, which was plans for the attack the following morning. And the Japanese the size of the Japanese force was overwhelming. And the American battalion was down to 600 men, it's usually 800 men. So what this person learned was about the plans to attack the following morning. He called back to his commander, reported it, and the commander decided to booby trap or to re-establish the defenses. So he booby trapped the foxholes and lined up his men in certain location, and the following morning, sure enough, the Japanese attacked. Wave 1 attacked, they jumped in the foxholes, and they were hit by all the booby trap, and at the right moment, the battalion commander ordered them to fire. The second wave of Japanese saw what had happened to the first wave, was in the mode to withdraw. And just at that moment, the same person who crawled to the enemy camp the night before stood up in his foxhole, took his shirt off because he did not want to show that he was an American, and shouted in Japanese the order to charge. So the second wave then, instead of retreating, charged. And they too were annihilated.
Wow.
Over 50 men, Japanese bodies lying on the ground. And not one American was killed. But this is the kind of things that, these are exceptional stories, but it's the kind of things.
You described a gopher